The following program is made possible by generous gifts from partners of Hinn Ministries and viewers like you in this area.
Pastor Benny Hinn is urgently preaching the gospel to the lost because the world's only hope is salvation through God's only Son, Jesus Christ.
The gift of God is life eternal.
This is your day to join Benny Hinn in proclaiming Jesus as Savior and Healer.
Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Ted Brower, and I'm here today with my wife, Sharon Brower, and I'm so privileged that Pastor Benny had asked my wife and I to come back and do another show. Today we're going to talk about reversing the aging process, or how you can seem to reverse the aging process. We're going to tell you natural alternatives to lower blood pressure, cholesterol, triglycerides, and blood sugar. And really important, when we talk about blood sugar, we're going to talk about adult onset diabetes and natural things that you can do to help your body not to become diabetic. And if you do have adult onset diabetes, how we can work with your doctor, you can work with your doctor to get off of the insulin if you are taking insulin. So we've got a lot of great information coming your way today. But first of all, I want to share something with the listeners. This is very important. You know, I've known Pastor Benny for 18 years, and it's been my privilege to be on his show for the last few weeks. And I want you to know something. He's the only evangelist that I know that does international crusades on an ongoing basis into India. And he really has a heart for Jesus. He has a heart for the lost. And I feel an honor to know him, and it's a privilege to be on his show today. And I'm really glad that we're here because we really want to help as many people as we possibly can to feel great and look great every single day of their life. Now, one of the things I always ask folks when I do big seminars around the world, I always say, how many of you listening today want to lower blood pressure, cholesterol, triglycerides, blood sugar, burn body fat, and feel absolutely great? Let me see your hands. And that's what I'm asking you today, everyone who's watching the show, because I want you to realize you can feel good and you can look good and have tremendous energy, but there's certain choices and certain decisions you've got to make on an ongoing basis. And they say, well, the little things that we do really don't affect us. The little things make a big difference. And for those of you who don't believe that little things can make a big difference, you've never obviously had a mosquito come into your bedroom at night when you're trying to sleep. The mosquito will make a really big difference when you're trying to sleep, just like these little things will make a big difference in your life. So we're going to talk about the top 20 ways to basically reverse the aging process and feel absolutely great today. We probably aren't going to have enough time to finish it all, but we're going to do the best we possibly can. Now, let me read you a couple statistics first of all. There are 77 prescription drugs that have been proven to cause senile dementia. 77 prescription drugs when you go into a nursing home or you get sick or you get older that have been proven to cause dementia. There are 166 drugs that have been proven to cause depression, 156 drugs that cause psychosis and make you hallucinate. There are 181 drugs that should never be prescribed for seniors whatsoever, forever, because of what it does to the brain. There are 250,000 seniors who are drugged in memory loss and dementia every single year into nursing homes, and 75% of memory loss in seniors is caused by the drug side effects. Now, that's an amazing statistic, but that's something that we know we need to realize. I know with my own mother, there was another doctor who had power of attorney over my mother when she was admitted into the nursing home. And I watched a vibrant woman who basically run her own business up until the day she had fallen and broken her foot. Because we'll talk about why that happens with osteoporotic fractures, be admitted into a nursing home who couldn't care for herself anymore. And I watched the mental deterioration happen so quickly, and there was nothing that I could do about it legally. It was very frustrating to me. All I would do is go into the hospital and then into the nursing home and get into arguments with the doctors. In fact, one day I went in there, and I've got to just share this with you for a second. I went into the nursing home, and they wouldn't give my mom a multiple vitamin. They were giving her this anemic food with absolutely no nutritive content. They wouldn't give her omega-3 fats. They wouldn't give her a multiple vitamin. They wouldn't give her enough water to drink. They were just feeding her junk food and giving her drugs. And I finally went into the doctor and I said, Doc, I said, you got to do me a favor. And now, remember, most medical doctors don't have a lot of nutrition training. I know Dr. Don Colbert comes on the show a lot, phenomenal doctor, good friend of mine, has tremendous medical training. But I talked to this medical doctor who was taking care of my mother, and this doctor knew that I didn't have power of attorney, so there was nothing I could do. And I said, could you please just do me a favor? I said, if I bring you some vitamins, some B vitamins, some cod liver oil, a multiple vitamin, can you please make sure that my mother gets it every day? And that doctor, I'll never forget what she said to me. She said, why would I do that? She is not showing any deficiency symptoms. I said, oh, because she doesn't have scurvy yet, you don't want to give her vitamin C. I said, this is ridiculous. I'm not asking you to give her psychotic, hallucinating drugs like you already have her on. I'm asking you to give her vitamins. And that doctor refused. She said, I will not give your mother any medication that is not called for. She considered vitamins to be a medication. Needless to say, the conversation went downhill from there. And the sad part about it is my mother died there several years later, not knowing who I was or any of the family members were. And I personally believe it was because of the medication that she'd been placed on for the 6 years that she was in the nursing home. So friends, let's not let that happen to any of our loved ones. And friends, it's so important that you understand this. Your health is your responsibility. It's not my responsibility. It's not even your attending physician's responsibility. It is your own responsibility. And folks need to realize that, you got to start making healthier choices. It's like stepping off a 10-story building and saying, I don't believe in the law of gravity. Well, I got bad news for you. You're going to have a really negative experience for a few seconds, okay? And the reality is you can determine your choices, but you can't determine the consequences. There are certain things, if you do them on an ongoing basis, are going to cause all kinds of health problems in your life and all kinds of health problems in your family's life. So let's try to avoid those. So number one thing we need to do, let's talk about our grandparents, Sharon. What's interesting to me is people are always saying how people live longer today, statistically, than they do 100 years ago. And the truth of the matter is, statistically, it is skewed that way. But here's what I need to share with you. 100 years ago, 150 years ago, a lot of children died in childbirth. A lot of children died when they were young. And when you take young children who are 1 or 2 years of age and they die, they skew the average life expectancy down considerably. Perfect example. If you have a child who dies at birth and you have a person who lives to be 100 years old, and you take those two and you add them together, divide them by 2, the average life expectancy is 50. Here's the difference. Right now in this country, they're saying that over 50% of the population, when they reach the age of 70, will have senile dementia or Alzheimer's disease. Wow. That's in our generation alone. And I personally believe it's because of all the drugs, all the chemicals, all the things that are in the environment that we've talked about on so many other shows with Pastor Benny. Now, here's what's important that you understand. People think, well, if we're living longer today, why has the standard and the quality of our life gone down so much? Let me give you another interesting statistics. Let me read you this. This is the prescribing harm came on with the local newspapers. It says, it's out of the USA Today. It says that 70% of doctors who treat Medicare patients flunked an exam on prescribing to the elderly. 32,000 hip fractures are attributed to prescribing that leaves the elderly sedated or unbalanced. 37% of people older than 60 are taking 5 or more prescription drugs a day. And 19% of the people over the age of 60 are taking 7 or more prescription drugs a day. I mean, think about that for a second. All of these seniors are being drugged and drugged and drugged and drugged. And I see the constant, every time they go to the doctor or they go to the medical professionals, they're given constant barrages of tests. And these tests, many times, have worse side effects than the condition they're being tested for. And same thing with the drugs you see on the TV every evening on the evening news. They say, wow, if you take this drug, you can get rid of your allergies. Well, the reality is, the side effects of the allergy medication in some cases are worse than the allergies themselves. And so you did, and that's right. How many times have we seen the TV shows that do that?
Oh, it's amazing. And what we're talking about today is quality of life,
That's
Ted.
correct. That's right.
Quality. And it's really sad because, age is a number. And I know when I turned 50, I had a hard time with that.
That's true.
That was a bad day for me. Yeah. But then I realized, and I heard on TV, that 50 is the new 30.
That's
and
right.
That made me feel better.
Well, you do look like you're 30, though.
But we have young children, and we've got to stay young. And we've got a lot of work to do. We've got this message has got to get out to more people.
Well, it's very important. Let me one more thing back with the parents. See, back in the 1800s, we ate organic, fresh food. But at the turn of the century, the last 100 years ago, after the Industrial Revolution, what happened is we started having people move back into the cities, and there was no way to feed the cities very efficiently because the farm stuff that was being shipped back into cities was spoiling in transit. So they had to find a way to process the grains and get the nutrients out of it so it wouldn't spoil. So they developed white flour, which is one of the biggest things they've ever done to destroy the population. They've also started taking a lot of the essential fats out, started giving us more and more sugar. I know 200 years ago, we ate like an average of 3 or 4 pounds of sugar per person per year. It was a luxury. Now we eat over 160 pounds of sugar per person per year. It's absolutely horrible what we've done to our system. And sugar also precipitates calcium. People don't realize that. You have osteoporotic fractures when you eat a lot of sugar. And folks don't understand, and I didn't understand, and most of our grandparents didn't understand, that when you start to mess around with the food supply, you have chronic degenerative diseases. Right. And we start to end up with cancer and heart disease and all these different types of problems when you're 30, 40, and 50.
Epidemic levels.
Epidemic levels. Millions and millions of people.
Yes.
So friends, listen to me. It's not a question of, hey, if I do this, this, and this, will I live longer? Well, you probably will. But here's the reality. We've got like 20 points we're going to go through today. But the point is this. If you do this, this, and this, what will happen is you'll feel better while you're here,
That's right.
if that makes any sense. I mean, I feel great all of the time. My wife feels great all of the time. I mean, I'm a scuba diver. I work out on a regular basis. I'm active. And we go out, we do things with our family. And it's important that everybody understands that you don't have to have a disease, sedentary life in which you feel horrible every single day of your life, wondering what you're going to do tomorrow because you don't have enough energy to get out of bed today. In fact, let me read you a letter real quick. This is a very, very good letter that came in just a few months ago, and it was from Mary, and she wrote, Dear Dr. Broer, I'm writing you for two reasons. I want to thank you for your program and your cookbook. I've been extremely hypoglycemic my entire adult life, and I've suffered with chronic constipation. I went on your program to break my addiction to sugar. I was eating at least 3 candy bars before 8:30 a.m., and that was just to get started. And by the way, that's the American way nowadays. The results have been a total break in my desire for sweets, and I've lost 20 pounds in 8 weeks. I continue to see weight loss, although I feel so good and have so much energy. It's the most painless experience I've ever enjoyed. I'm never hungry. My emotional swings are gone, and I'm stable and I'm balanced for the first time in years. She goes on to say, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And the reality is you can feel great every single day by making certain choices in your life. Let me give you another example. Cholesterol is very, very important in your blood. You have to have cholesterol to make hormones, to make testosterone. I always tell folks, if your cholesterol is not over 200, over 250, I wouldn't worry about it. If you're over 250, you need to do something about it. But remember, cholesterol is absolutely critical to be healthy. You have to have it to produce hormones. You have to have it for all kinds of other chemical reactions in the body. Your body has to use the cholesterol in your system to make vitamin D with your skin when you go out into the sun. And folks don't realize that if you don't get enough cholesterol, enough fat in your diet, you can't stay healthy. Very, very important. People are taking these cholesterol-lowering medications now. They're lowering their testosterone levels. Their brains are turning to mush. They can't think anymore. And as far as I'm concerned, it's completely overprescribed. See, it used to be a few years back, if your cholesterol was 250, they said it was fine. Then they changed it to 200. Then they said that wasn't good enough. Now they've taken it down to 150, which is ridiculous. And it aggravates the hound out of me when I see stuff like that because I know it's simply not true. So let's go ahead and talk about good quality protein, number one. One of the biggest things that happens to us as we age is our muscles begin to deteriorate. Now, every time we drink water and our bodies have to expel the water out of our system, we lose nitrogen. It's through urea. And when we don't get enough nitrogen into our bodies by the food that we eat from good quality protein, we start losing muscle. It's very important that you understand that. And so we have to have a good, high quality protein every single morning when we get up. Because when we get up in the morning, our cortisol levels are high, which is a stress hormone. It makes us wake up. And so if our bodies don't get good quality protein, it starts digesting our lean muscle mass. And that's why we lose about 7% of our lean muscle mass every 10 years as we age. That's why you see the elderly, they have little frail arms, little frail legs. Number one, they don't get sufficient quantities of protein, high quality protein. We use an excellent protein out of Australia. It's a whey protein, actually it's out of New Zealand. It's a phenomenal product. And we give it to the kids every morning and we take it every day.
Yeah, and you know, when I changed over to that and I started taking it, I noticed in the gym my strength increased, and it was so nice because I noticed I was getting a little weaker and I needed to work out harder.
And you increased your lean muscle mass. I know Sharon's a black belt in karate. In fact, a couple of years ago, she won the U.S. Open in weapons competition. And I'm proud of my whole family. And it's just that I watch her every day in the gym doing push-ups. And I'm like, wow, this is really impressive doing push-ups, and she's 51 years old. But see, the lean muscle mass.
I mean, how many women, when it's time, gets warm and you start wearing sleeveless and you start your arms start jiggling.
That's right.
And the only way that I felt like I could do was just start doing more and more push-ups and start with maybe 5 a day, then move up to 10, and then do maybe 15 a week, and then 20 a week, and just keep going. And you'll find your strength gets better, and the protein that we take really helps increase that.
And of course, as we mentioned on other shows, the studies that were shown, like eggs are an excellent source of protein. The studies that were done using eggs they were using basically powdered dried egg yolks, which is unbelievably bad for you, to try to prove that it raised cholesterol. And of course it does. Yeah. Eggs have never been proven to raise cholesterol at all. So we eat eggs every single day. It's great for you. The yolk has a lot of sulfur. It's good for skin, nails, for hair. Absolutely critical that you eat eggs.
But now, why, as a woman, do I crave carbohydrates and I really don't crave protein, whereas men, they always want protein?
Well, what's happened with that is with women, because of the hormonal fluctuations throughout the month, they basically have a tendency to their serotonin levels to drop, and so they're always craving sugars and sweets and things that'll bulk them up, make them happy. That's right. So it's so funny. I subliminally said bulk them up, and that's true because it will bulk you up. Because what happens when you eat a lot of processed carbohydrates, what ends up happening is when you eat the processed carbohydrates, it elevates your insulin. And when you elevate your insulin, you start storing all those extra carbohydrates as fat. And that's one of the keys with women that you have to understand. You don't want to eat high glycemic carbohydrates. And we talk about this, through a lot of programs we have available.
I never had any problem with my stomach as far as storing any fat there till I turned like 48. And it was so frustrating because, like you say, and then I started eating a lot more protein, and I really have to make myself eat eggs every day, but now
you get used to it, and plus it makes your hair look better, skin look better,
and thinning hair. It really helps with thinning hair too.
Now we got to get through a couple more of these things. Next thing we tell folks always to do to help reverse the aging process is basically to eat foods that are high in omega-3 fats, like salmon. Now, when you eat salmon, always make sure that you get fresh, wild salmon. Always ask the person if you're in a restaurant ordering it, is this wild salmon or is this farm-raised salmon? Wild salmon is excellent for you. Farm-raised salmon is terrible for you. Farm-raised salmon is not even pink in color. They have to dye it. And it's interesting, I was at a hotel a few months back, and they were having a breakfast buffet, and they had lox, the smoked salmon on the white plates, and all the color was bleeding out of it. And it was all the food coloring was coming out of the salmon. It was all orange. And I said, guys, don't you have some real salmon? Well, this is real salmon. I said, don't you have anything without artificial colors in it? And so they said, no, this is all we have. And I'm like, this is not healthy.
And the wild salmon tastes
And the
so
wild
much
tastes
better, too.
and also cod liver oil. We found one brand of cod liver oil that's phenomenal. It works great.
That's right.
And then we also, a couple of years ago, we developed a product. It's a product that actually helps to boost the body's own production of human growth hormone. And when you take this product, and friends, I'm not joking with you, this stuff is amazing. It actually lowers your blood pressure almost instantaneously because it helps to relax the muscles. Secondly, it's like a natural Viagra in men. Third, it helps to burn cellulite and body fat. It's absolutely phenomenal.
And it increases your energy levels and your strength in the gym.
And increases your lean muscle mass.
Yeah.
And so it's like a...
I've gotten stronger taking that.
It's absolutely incredible. Now, next thing we need to do is we need to also drink pure water.
That's right. That's
And
important.
I know we talk about this on every single show, and there's a reason for that. If you're listening today and you're only going to do one thing that we suggest, drink water. That's the one thing.
Good water.
Good water. Number two is take your cod liver oil. And Pastor Benny was so funny on one of the prior shows we had done with him. He goes, well, how does it taste? And I said, well, it tastes terrible.
But no, let me say one thing. We've got
You've gotten used to it.
No, we've got a brand now that has got cinnamon extract and mint, and you can get mint extract. So if you like one of those flavors, it's not that bad. And our kids take it every day. I mean, I don't care about the taste because the results are so good. And you get me started on this cod liver oil, my fine lines have decreased. My skin, my complexion, people come up to me and comment on my complexion. It's got A and D in it and a natural source, and it just feeds your skin because, women, we put all these creams, and we'll spend a fortune on wrinkle creams and all that, but it's what you put on the inside.
Internal, that's right.
It makes the biggest difference.
Why get you all stoked up on cod liver?
You start talking about that. It's results.
It works great, but it tastes terrible. I'm sorry, sure. It still tastes bad.
I like the cinnamon.
You like the cinnamon, okay. But the cod liver oil is absolutely, we've only found one brand that works, by the way, that really works well because it has natural A and D added back into it. Drink pure water is absolutely critical. Now, next thing is stop smoking. I know, this is so important, friends. Listen to me. We could go over the top 20 key secrets on how to stop smoking right now. And if you're listening today, you go, well, this is a Christian show. We're Christians. We're not supposed to be smoking. Well, it doesn't matter if you're Christian or not. Nicotine is just as addictive to a Christian as it is to a non-Christian, okay? Nicotine, I remember the Surgeon General, C. Everett Koop, said that nicotine was as addictive to get off of as heroin was.
And an addiction is an addiction. Don't put somebody down because they're addicted to cigarettes when you're addicted to something else.
That's right. I mean, we've all sinned, and it's only by the grace of God that we've all been saved. And through Jesus Christ. I mean, that's what we have to understand. And so the reality is, we could talk about the top 20 ways to stop smoking, but we don't have time today. Number 5, we need to avoid high-fat luncheon meat nitrites. Sodium nitrite is one of the most toxic ingredients they put into our luncheon meat. Bacon, sausage, ham, pepperoni, and hot dogs. You don't eat this stuff. You got to avoid this stuff. And plus, it has another problem. It's very high in the amino acid called methionine. Methionine, if you don't have enough B6, B12, and folic acid in your diet or you're taking those supplements, converts to homocysteine. And homocysteine is the primary cause of atherosclerotic plaquing, not cholesterol. This research was done by 38 years ago by a guy by the name of McCulley, Dr. McCulley, and he was ridiculed by the mainstream media. But finally, they're beginning to realize that 50% of the people that have heart attacks today have heart attacks and die have normal cholesterol levels. It's not the cholesterol, guys. It's the homocysteine levels. Very important that you understand that. Cholesterol is an important factor, but it's not the primary factor as far as I'm concerned with heart disease. And that's why if you're doing what we're saying today, you're going to eliminate a lot of these problems and not have to, be going in and have bypass surgery. By the way, bypass surgery, God bless you if you think you got to do that because there's all kinds of natural ways, if we had time to talk about it, 2 key ways that you can clean out the arteries without doing bypass surgery, which have no bad side effects. If we had time today, we could go into detail about that, but we don't. Next thing we want to talk about is exercise and resistance training. This is absolutely critical that we do cardio exercise every single day. If it's just walking, for heaven's sakes, you got to get out there. I remember we used to have a plaque, Sharon, in the gym I used to train at back in the 60s, giving my age away. I'm 52, and it was by Dr. Thomas Curtin. And it said, the law of life is movement, rhythmic continuous movement, at least 1 hour a day, 3 days a week. No one ever graduates from the law of physical conditioning. Either you continue working out or you go downhill. it's so funny. I read that little thing so many times. It was over the water fountain in the gym that I still remember to this day, you know, like 40 years later. And the thing is, that is so true. When we do resistance training, we increase our lean muscle mass, especially when you take that product that we developed, you do resistance training with it, you release human growth hormone out of your body, and you maintain your lean muscle mass.
And you actually, on that?
No, we don't start on that. We don't have time. But it's very, very important. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is fiber. It's virtually nobody in America gets enough fiber. That's why colon rectal cancer is the #1 cause of cancer in this country. I mean, Sharon, we can honestly say, and I hope it's okay with Pastor Benny to say this, but the U.S. is plugged up from the East Coast to the West Coast. I mean, it's just that bad. I mean, laxative sales are in the billions. And you think, well, that's terrible. Well, it is terrible. It's particularly terrible if you're afflicted with it, because that's one of the key factors with breast cancer and colon rectal cancer is constipation. And we have to realize that this is something we've got to talk about and not pretend like it's not happening, because if we don't talk about it, it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Organic apples. And
Organic
I'm always
apples.
Ted, have you had your apple today?
That's right.
At least eat 1 apple a day.
And I see we only have a couple minutes left, so let's just do this. Avoid sodas, diet sodas. Don't put any of this in your body. They contain phosphoric acid. Plus, the diet sodas contain phenylalanine, aspartic acid, and methanol, which is the constituent components of aspartame, which has been shown to cause brain tumors, brain cancer, seizures, headaches, optic nerve degradation. Plus, the phosphoric acid of these products is so acidic, it takes 33 glasses of water to neutralize the acidity of 1 soda. So it's absolutely critical that you stay away from sodas. And your children, you adults, especially if you're elderly, don't drink sodas. My mom used to drink sodas every single day. And she wouldn't drink water. All she wanted to do was drink sodas. And finally, she ended up with an osteoporotic fracture in her foot. She fell in the nursing home. And I told her for years, please don't do this, please don't do this. But she just didn't. She wanted to do it.
What about this? You start
Well,
leaning
yeah,
forward.
you get the Dowager jump. That's right. You start leaning forward, your spine starts to collapse.
And that makes you look old.
And that makes you look old. So, next thing, avoid stress. And the reason you want to destroy stress as much as you possibly can is it elevates cortisol. And when you elevate cortisol, it's a muscle wasting hormone. And what it ends up doing basically is destroying you internally first, making your muscles waste, lowering your metabolic rate. If we had time today, we'd cover the top 5 ways to burn and melt body fat. We don't have time to do that. But what cortisol does, it destroys the body internally. And one of the key things that elevates cortisol quicker than anything else, and I've never talked about this on a show before, is coffee. When you drink caffeinated coffee, it elevates your cortisol through the roof. I try never to drink coffee, and I haven't had any coffee today. We had some green tea before we did the show because we were a little bit jet lagged. But if I drink coffee, I get real edgy and real irritable. And I just don't do it. It's not fair to Sharon. It's not fair to the kids. It's not fair to me. I don't like the way I feel. I get a headache the next day. I stay away from it. The coffee is very, very unhealthy for you. It'll make you age very, very quickly. Now everybody was saying, well, I was with him until he said that. Well, guys, when I was in graduate school at Florida State University, I used to drink 18 cups of coffee a day. A couple years out of graduate school, I ended up with heart disease and almost died from it. The British Medical Journal Lancet a few years ago said if you drink 5 cups of coffee and you're a man, you increase your risks of cardiovascular disease by up to 50%. And so, guys, it's not something that you can live with, it's something you can live without. And with women, particularly, it causes a massive increase in fibroid tumor formation and breast cancer. We think in women, I personally believe it does cause it, increase in risks in breast cancer.
Drink green tea, right?
Drink green tea. But guys, let me share with you real quick, and this is so important. You know, Pastor Benny, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, travels all over the world ministering to the sick, ministering to the poor, ministering to the people that need Jesus. For the folks that, you know, we don't see on a daily basis. I mean, masses and masses. I know he's spoken to millions of people just in India. He's the only evangelist that I know that goes on a continual basis to these third world countries to get people saved. And so we've got to learn that we need to support people that are doing the work of God. And that's so important for all of us. And so we have a program today that's not only going to make you feel better, look better, but you're going to support Pastor Benny's ministry. So let me show you what we have. This is Maximum Age Reversal. This is a phenomenal book. It talks about staying heart disease and cancer free, which supplements really work to reverse the aging process, which there are some that really work amazing. 10 key strategies looking and feeling 20 years younger, stress-free living made simple. This book's included in the program that we're going to talk to you about in just a second. Then I have my book, Maximum Energy. This is, as far as I'm concerned, the finest health book ever written. It's super easy to read. It went to number 15 on Amazon. It was an international bestseller, a phenomenal book, very easy to read, incredible book. I love this book. We have the book, Train Up Your Children in the Way You Should Eat. Now, a lot of you have been talking to us today about age reversal. So why are we talking about children? Well, here's why. A lot of you have grandkids, and you don't want your grandkids to suffer all these diseases and heart problems, all the other things that you have right now. Train up your children in the way they should eat. Then they'll raise your great-grandchildren the way they should eat and keep everybody healthy. Finally, we have the Maximum Energy Health and Fitness Program. Now, this is a phenomenal CD series that takes you through 8 CDs and a systematic process on feeling absolutely wonderful. We talk about staying heart disease and cancer free, which supplements really work to reverse the aging process, 10 key secrets looking and feeling great, the wisdom of the ages, which is talked about what the Bible talks about, the top 10 foods never to eat, the top 5 ways to burn and melt body fat. Phenomenal series. Now, when you support Pastor Benny's ministry around the world like he does, you're going to be able to get this program. We have this available to you today for $175, which is a fraction, by the way, of the normal retail cost. And we also have 2 more DVDs. We have the beginning, intermediate, men's exercise and beginning, intermediate, and advanced exercise for women. And we're going to give you these, either one of your choice, as a gift when you order the program. And oh, by the way, in this maximum age reversal book, we have the whole package in there. It contains the entire 20 lists of how to stop smoking and how to get off a lot of these different types of drugs that people are on and all the natural alternatives. This is a phenomenal book. This is the best book that's ever been written on aging and the aging process. Now, not part of that program, we have another package, and this is called Eat, Drink, and Be Healthy. And with this program is another 8 CD series that takes you through a systematic process, week by week, on lowering blood pressure, cholesterol, triglycerides, and blood sugar levels. Plus, this program comes with the medical reports on high blood pressure, depression, diabetes, cancer, ADD, prostate, impotency, and infertility problems in men. Absolutely critical that you get this information today. We want to thank you so much for tuning in today. We want to thank you for supporting Pastor Benny's telecast so we can go around the world and ministering to the sick, to the lost, to the poor, and the folks who need Jesus. And friends, I just want to pray with you right now. Sharon, I'm going to ask you to start.
Father, we just thank you for these people. We thank you that they take this information,
Yes, Father.
and Lord, they just don't put it on a shelf, but they digest it, Father, and that lives are going to be healed, and just everybody's going to be walking in divine health, Father.
And Father, we just pray for the healing of your saints. We pray that everybody walks in divine health. They all can bring honor and glory to you, Lord, in all that they do and all they think and they say. Friends, we want to thank you again for supporting this broadcast, and we thank you for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time.
We believe that the gospel of Jesus Christ is the answer to humanity and the troubles on this earth. The gospel, and only the gospel is the solution.
Pastor Benny Hinn is passionate about reaching the lost by obeying the mandate for all believers to go into all the world and preach the gospel.
I'm talking about souls.
Save my soul.
Men and women around the world who have not heard the gospel. It's our duty, our privilege, our responsibility to tell them. Who else will? Nobody will. Jesus came to give his life for men and women. And for me, and for you, to have the privilege to tell the world. Awesome.
For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, I am there in the midst of them. We know God hears our prayers and answers them. Pastor Benny's evangelism and healing ministry takes him around the world, but he has made it a priority to spend time in prayer for you. Send Pastor Benny your prayer requests and let him come into agreement with you. In addition, the ministry staff will pray for you before your request is sent to Israel, where for 30 days the saints in Jerusalem will agree with you. So write today and come into agreement with him for your needs to be met. Pastor Benny invites you to follow him on Facebook and Twitter. Go to the ministry homepage and click on the link. Stay informed as Pastor Benny is personally sending regular updates about what God is doing around the world.